So one of the questions that I've gotten so far was a question about my postgraduate school life as far as collecting your hours and supervision and work. So coming back from England, I was a bit nervous because I didn't have a job lined up, but it wasn't too bad because there are a lot of openings. So the way that you can format your life, your work life, I guess, is you have different options. You could either work in a public school, a private school, or an in-home therapy full-time. And in-home therapy full-time would just mean like you'd be collecting cases to make up 40 hours a week. And usually sessions run for 2 hours. So you'd be doing multiple clients in one day. So I worked at a private school for a little bit with kids, and that was kind of easy to find because they're always hiring. It's just hard because in this market, I know in the New Jersey market, the pay is really, really low. So I've gotten a couple of offers for $38,000, $25,000, $27,000 with a master's. So you have to be okay with that for a little bit. And of course, obviously the negotiating tips and things like that. Usually when you're interviewing for schools, they will have you do a trial. So they'll have you sit with some kids and they'll see how you implement ABA and really look for how you respond to feedback. Responding to feedback is really important because every company, every school has a different way of doing ABA. Like I've said before, ABA is like ice cream. There's a lot of different flavors of it. So a lot of people do things differently, and sometimes the way that you were taught clashes with the way that the new company wants you to do it, so you have to make sure that you're adaptable. So I applied to a bunch of jobs online, I interviewed for a bunch, and then I just ended up picking one based on benefits, pay, distance, school, etc. And it's important to ask during the interview process, do they offer supervision hours? For me, they did, and they also offered group supervision, which was great because 50% of your hours can come from group. So that means that they don't have to directly talk to you, they don't have to directly watch you. You can sit in a group setting, kind of like a classroom, and just discuss things or ask questions all together and kind of have a mini lecture essentially, and that kind of brings off the burden from you. Some schools, they do offer it like for everyone. Some schools, like public schools, are limited in BCBAs, so it's not guaranteed. There are sometimes wait lists because a supervisor can only supervise so many. You know, my current supervisor can only supervise 5 because there's only 5 days in the week. And you're trying to give everyone enough hours where they can get the maximum, which is 130 hours claimed a month. So for 130 hours to be claimed a month, you would need at least 6.5 hours of supervision time with your supervisor. And that's a lot. So for me right now, that means I have to meet with my supervisor twice a week for about an hour and 10 to hour and 20 minutes. So it's rough. It's very, very rough. So just make sure that you check with the company that you're interviewing for and see where they stand with that. I know with public schools it's also hard too because it's like you have to not only be on a wait list, but you also have to be, you can only get like 4 contacts a month, which means you only be able to claim 80 hours a month, which would mean that you'd be getting supervision for about 2 to 3 years. And that's a really long time. So that's up to you when you're looking for it. And with in-home therapy, it's a little bit harder too because I've tried getting therapy, BCBA hours to my in-home, and it's kind of difficult because not everyone is licensed to supervise. So in order to be a supervisor BCBA, you need to have completed an 8-hour course that allows you to supervise, and not every in-home BCBA will have that certification, and even then they might not even be able to see you more than twice a month. So it could be difficult to do it through the in-home route, but of course it's up to you. And the same thing applies with being an RBT. You still need to have the 5% of your hours supervised with 2 contacts, but you need to have a BCBA that can supervise you. For supervision and work, so working is not bad. I work a lot, so I'm able to collect those hours because I have the supervision in it. I have the ability to collect 130 hours and therefore be able to finish within a little bit over a year. So I'm actually planning to sit for my BCBA in January because I finished my hours in October and I've been collecting them since September. So yay me, more videos on studying. So yeah, that's really it. I don't think there's anything else other than make sure you like your supervisor and make sure you think that your supervisor is competent. If you don't think your supervisor is competent, don't go to them. Because the important part of supervision is like you come out knowing that you can change behavior and that you can be able to go out in the world and do what you need to do by yourself. I don't think I'm ready to do that. I don't think any BCBA is ready to do that within the first 2 years. But I have a pretty good foundation. I have a great supervisor right now who's been a pioneer in the field for a while. So I can go to him with any question. He can break things down really simply for me and make me look at things in terms of the 4 basic contingencies of like reinforcement and punishment and why it explains behavior. And that helps a lot when trying to determine what I would do in that situation had he not been there. If you don't think your BCBA is able to make effective change, then I would not go to them for supervision. I would go for someone else. You can also pay someone to supervise you. I know some people charge at least $100, if not more, per hour of supervision. It's rough, but if you're in a situation where no one can supervise you, I think that's the only thing that you can do, is just making sure that you make the most out of the time and that you think that they're actually qualified, because that's an expensive supervision. Most work areas will give you supervision for free if they have it. But if it's not good quality supervision, in your opinion, then I wouldn't trust it. You should be able to handle situations that are not clear cut, but at the same time, like situations that you might not find in a textbook, like that's what you should be looking for in a supervisor. Like I know I have a lot of clients where I have never heard about any of the behaviors that they have. And then I come to him and he's like, oh, I can explain it for you. This is what we should do. And then with a few days of me just implementing his ideas, I'm able to either curb it or lessen it or shape it down to a smaller topography or magnitude. Other than that, I hope this answers your question about hours in supervision. In short, there's a lot of opportunities available outside. You can work in a public school, private school, or in-home therapy. Make sure to ask about if there's a BCBA that can supervise you. Determine how long you want to be supervised for. Like, do you want to finish it in a year, a couple years, etc., because that can change, that can determine a lot. And make sure that your supervisor is competent. Yeah. And other than that, work is just work. You know, like supervision doesn't take up too much of your time. It's part of like your work day, so it just goes in with it. And your 130 hours, in case you're unsure, is not 130 hours with your supervisor. So you could claim your 40-hour work week if you meet with your supervisor once, and then so on and so forth. So I hope that clears up some things for you. I hope that answers your question. But thanks for watching.